Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy Lighterman, the Broward County Film Commissioner, and I want to welcome you to the Real Lauderdale, which is our new web series about highlighting the creative and technical minds locally of our local screen industry. And today we're excited and very excited to have Aniela McGuinness, and we can say that it is Daniela without the D, so it's Aniela McGuinness, who is an improv comedian and a two-time cancer survivor, as well as a well-known actress locally, with over 18 years of experience in improv, as well as 13 years of on-screen experience. Aniela's worked on everything from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to the indie film 73 Minutes, and where she won a Best Actor award for that, for her role in 73 Minutes. Aniela uses humor to cope with life's challenges, including the loss of her mother and her own cancer diagnosis. When she's not on screen, Aniela is helping others cope with cancer through the therapeutic power of improv comedy. So I want to welcome you, Aniela. Thank you for coming in, and I want to ask you, just have a little casual conversation about your life. Tell me a little bit about your experience, about your experience getting into the film industry and what drew you to filmmaking and acting, and how your path has evolved over the years.
Thank you, Sandy. And thank you for having me here. And thank you all for watching. Hi. I always wanted to be an actor since I was a little kid. But I started in our industry down here because my dad is a union stagehand, IATSE union stagehand, worked on Miami Vice. So all the way back from the beginning when we were having, really great film industry down here.
Right, that's true.
And when I was a kid, I grew up in the theater. He was the head carpenter for James L. Knight Center. I then got my union card as a stagehand first. Went to Florida State University with a technical theater degree. So I learned set construction, scene painting, all of that. Came back and worked for the opera for 5 years. So I was backstage, kind of in the dark. And during my summers off, I would do improv comedy. And it was like the secret. I always wanted to act, but it was like, well, is that a real job? How can you make money at that?
Even your father, who was in the
industry, was
that.
like, maybe have a real job, be a stagehand.
There you go.
Be a stagehand. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I want to try it. So I quit the opera and I went back to school and for occupational therapy. Because again, how can somebody be an actor as a real job? But while I was doing that and volunteering at the hospital, I started taking an acting class. And my husband, who I've been with since I was 15, high school sweethearts, he was like, I'll support you for a year. I can support you for a year. Try it. And that first year, we had incentives here. Yeah. And it was a great year. I made more as an actor that year than I did as a stagehand that first year because of our incentives. And I got a SAG National commercial for Home Depot that first year. I booked a Univision series as a series regular. The show never aired, but
you got paid, and
I got paid, and it was super fun. I got to do Rock of Ages. I was in that, and I got to do the table read for that with Tom Cruise and all of the stars, which was wild. And then I was on set for a month with my own little trailer. So I made a great living from that. And then I did Burn Notice that year, and then I did Charlie's Angels that year.
For those years, yeah.
And I was like, if this is my first year, I'm gonna be amazing. And then the next year, the incentives were gone, and I made $8,000.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's such a really. There's a story there, right, about how money is made because of the projects that come in from our locals, right, like you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was hooked. It got me.
And your poor husband is saying, "What did I do? I gave her the first year."
And thankfully he does well as well, and so we've been able to. The acting career has these Ups and downs. I've been very lucky some years, other years not as lucky. But I've really wanted to stay here. And man, the amount of actors who I know who are great, who have had to leave, who all went to LA, who all went to Atlanta. And I was the one, I'm like, I don't want to give up every aspect of my life for my career.
Okay.
And so I stayed. And I'm grateful I have. Again, you mentioned I had cancer twice.
We were going to go into that a little bit. Yes, we will talk about that. Yes, you did have cancer twice.
And so that, thankfully, I was here because we have, again, a great medical, like I was at UM. We have so many, South Florida is amazing.
Yeah, and I must say you're a Broward resident, so we love that part of it. Not just South Florida, you are actually one of our locals. So you didn't actually have the easiest growing up. You did grow up, and you in a school bus. Am I right?
I did. I lived in a school bus in the Panhandle of Florida.
Right. So and then obviously we just spoke about being a 2-time cancer survivor. And an accomplished actor, and as well as as your improv, all of that's incredibly inspiring. So, how have your personal experiences shaped the way you approach your work? Especially your being the difficulties, right? How do you actually take that and put that into your work? Both film and comedy, both.
Well, comedy is a coping skill.
Yeah.
So it feels good to, you can cry and laugh. So I've tried to do both. When my mother had cancer, she was very quiet about her. There wasn't much laughter in the household. And I used improv comedy as my release. I'd go to my improv group. I'm with Sick Puppies Comedy. Perfect title. Up in Delray. And that was my outlet once a week to go and have permission to laugh. And it helped me get through that grief and that process of caregiving. And after she passed away, and I was like, okay, I can really start living because I'm not caretaking anymore. And that's part of the reason I was still here, was I was like, I'm here because my mom, because people would always ask, why are you here? Like, why don't you move? I was here for that, like to caretake. But I was like, okay, I can finally start really living. And then I was diagnosed with cancer.
Right after we're friends, so I know literally within a year afterwards, and I know your personal battle with cancer, right? And then, but you documented your whole, so talk about your documenting your whole journey through your cancer.
Well, that's where art. Art. Thank goodness for art. I couldn't really work much because I was in chemo and had double mastectomy, but I had improv and I did a one-woman show.
But you also did you're documenting everything that you went through,
yes.
Like being sick. I mean, to the point of being sick as a dog on camera. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, I did a photo series that got picked up by Cosmo and Daily Mail, and art was essential. It was essential in every aspect. Having a community of improvisers who would come in and take me to chemo, and they would dance with me because they're improvisers. And we'd laugh, having people who were willing to come and laugh with me in the middle of something so terrible. But that is using the skills of what we do and incorporating it into the healing process of like rediscovering who I am through art, by writing, by performing in the middle of it.
So it helped you heal. All of that helped you heal, and then now you turned around, not only with the documenting, and helping others, but then going into what you do and talk about what you do with Gilda's house, right?
Yes.
So Gilda's Club, yes.
Gilda's Club, South Florida, for Gilda Radner.
And I guess talk a little bit about it. Some people might not know
Mm-hmm.
about Gilda and the club.
So Gilda's Club South Florida is actually the second Gilda's Club. The first one was in New York, after Gilda Radner, who passed away from ovarian cancer. This beautiful club, all free for cancer patients, their caregivers, kids. They have a children's program for children with cancer or children whose parents or family members have cancer. Incredible organization. And again, by its bootstraps, kind of like we all are, like fundraising and doing the best they can. And so my mother was a member there, and they bring in resources, and because of them, I can say she probably lived 7 years because of them, because they brought in so many resources that she was able to utilize, like painting, like access to really great doctors, to ask questions. I mean, it was amazing. And after she passed away, and then once I was diagnosed, and I got better, I then started volunteering there as to teach improv comedy, because since I knew how much it helped me through it, I know having cancer is all consuming, but in improv, you can be anything. You can be an astronaut on the moon, and you don't have cancer in that moment. And so I know the playfulness, and to let adults have a space where they can play and laugh and make fun and be irreverent is fantastic. And so I do that once a month now there. I did it throughout COVID on Zoom every week. And then I also dress up as Gilda Radner's Rosanna Dana. So I have a big wig, and I do the fundraising at Gilda's Club for their big SNL fundraiser, where I host it. I'm like, yeah.
And you love that part because you love that is your alter ego. I think is
I'm a big clown.
Yeah,
I'm a big clown.
But the fact that you've taken your ability to actually heal through art, then be able to take that and to then help others. I mean, that's commendable. I've always admired you about that, honestly, personally. So I think that's there's no words for that. That's just giving back, and how you felt it was given to you. You're just keep passing it forward, paying it forward.
It's also super healing for me every time I'm in the class. Like, I can't be like, I'm super altruistic. I have a great time, and it's, I think it heals a part of my soul every time I do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me knowing your personality, so that part I believe. Tell us about, you mentioned some of the projects, there's products and projects. Right?
A lot of products.
There's a lot of products.
A lot of commercials
here. A lot
here.
of commercials. Actually, that was a faux pas, but it was perfect. There are a lot of products, but a lot of projects. I mean, how was Mrs. Maisel? I was on that side because it was when I was in Miami-Dade, and that was like the costumes, like everything was amazing about that, I must say. Yeah.
So we want story time?
Yes, we want story time.
Story time. Yes. All right. Maisel was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a dream role for me.
That's your that era is your jam, isn't it? Yes.
It's my jam, and I love the show beforehand.
Right.
And so when I heard it was coming down, because we get whispers, because again, we don't have incentives,
Right.
So we don't have these shows, but they had written an episode where they needed Miami. And so they showed up.
Right.
And I had reached out to my agent, and I was like, I will be an extra. Because I figured they're never going to cast us from down here, right? We're Florida is how sometimes we're looked upon at this point. So I was like, I'll be an extra. And so I signed up to be an extra. They picked me. I went for the fittings. They cut my hair. Like, you had to be willing to cut your hair.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do anything. I just want to be on the set. I want to be in these clothes. I want to see these $1 million actors, Emmy award-winning directors. I want to see it up close. And
what was your role?
well, at this point, I didn't have one. I did not have one. I got just picked as like a bikini lady, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna burn. It's gonna be a bad thing, but it's like, all right, I'm gonna wear lots of sunscreen. And then a couple auditions came through with Lori Wyman,
Yeah.
who has cast a lot of the shows down here. And I got an audition for the receptionist. And I was like, and it was the biggest role they were casting here. So even Lori told me later, she goes, I didn't expect them to actually cast this down here. She's like, I expected them to send somebody in from New York. Because she had, I think it was, she told me 12 roles. And she only got to cast 4 down here. They ended up taking people for smaller roles from New York, flying them down.
Mm-hmm. That's because they did not get an incentive, right? Mm-hmm. This was during a time that we didn't have incentives at all, right?
And
local or otherwise.
And because so many actors leave because they can't get enough work here.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't find enough actors who were good enough, skilled enough to play at that level. And I worked my tush off. I got a call back, fully dressed up, and I was freaking out in the sense that I had a date to be an extra for Monday. And I was now waiting from this call back for this role. And I knew if I showed up as an extra, I couldn't do the role because now I would be seen in the background. And so I'm like, Lori, can you guys tell me as soon as possible if I book this? And she's like, what did you do? Like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I just want to be on it. She's like, why would you do that? And so we had a moment. And I'm like, please. And so I'm home after the callback. My hair's curled. I'm still in my, 1950s getup. And I'm like, okay, I have a glass of wine. And I'm just like, I'm just going to sit here. And I'm going to feel the vibes that I've already booked this. And all of a sudden I get a call from Lori. And she's like, you booked it. And I,
crazy.
Yeah, it
jumped all around.
My agent called me, and then Lori texted me. And I filmed a little video for Lori where I'm just like, full freak out. And so that's just the booking of it. The shoot. Whoo! We need incentives. Big incentives for the state. This shoot was incredible. There were, Fontainebleau.
They had ballrooms and ballrooms of costumes that I just was able to look at and going, wow, this is, like a gazillion dollars in their costuming.
Vintage.
Yeah, vintage. It was all vintage.
Shoes,
it was
hats,
it was
bags.
Everything, yeah. This is, I know her style. So I know this was her. She was in heaven. I know you were in heaven.
It was heaven. But that shoot had 100 extras.
Yeah.
Vintage cars,
mm-hmm.
multiple booms. The initial shot was a continuous one shot.
That's right.
With 2 booms. They did this shot 50 times for this single shot. Again, imagine catering. Imagine security. Imagine hotel rooms. All the money that comes down here.
Locations, yeah. The hotel, what's the name of the hotel? You know which one where they do the, anyhow, it was, high end, yeah.
All of it.
Faina,
Ooh.
yeah, that was the Faina, that was the club that they did as the comedy club that she
gorgeous.
performed, so it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you were very excited about that role.
Thrilled. And I got to be with the 2 main leads.
Yeah, I know, which is...
And with Amy Sherman-Palladino, who is the writer, creator of the actual show, who's coming up and directing me. And I'm going, yeah, I got it. The amazing thing was, I'm with all these other extras who are all Florida people. And they're all actors. They're actors who were like me and were like, I'll do anything to be on this set. And when they found out, because in one of my lines, as I'm handing the keys to the ladies, they turn to me and go, what are you doing in Florida? You need to get out of here. Get on a bus and get to New York. That's one of the things they say in the scene to me. And I was like, you don't even know. But the other extras who were around me were like, wait, you're from Florida? You're from here, and you booked this. And it was like a little celebration.
Right, that...
We were all like... there was no jealousy. It was this camaraderie as they were like, one of us got it.
That's amazing.
They didn't ship somebody in. And every time they would be like, yeah, you got this. Every time they'd cut... It was incredible.
So that's probably, I'm going to say that probably was the highlighter.
The highlight so far. One of them. One of them. The table read with Tom Cruise and Alec Baldwin and all of them was pretty epic. As I'm sitting next to Mary J. Blige and
That's
Gloria
probably
Estefan.
that would probably be.
Yeah, and they're
yeah.
like, hi, I'm Gloria. And I'm like, hi.
Yeah, like I know who you are. You guys have to introduce yourself to me. That's very cool. What was your role in that?
I was waitress number 2.
Okay, but you were at a table read for waitress number 2. That's pretty good.
I read actually all the other little parts.
Oh,
Ellen Jacoby had invited me in. They had 3 actors and 3 actresses from Florida to read all the small roles with the big stars for this table read.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So suffices to say you have done some great things. Do you have anything on the horizon that is coming? Or I know you probably can't say because you're probably in audition mode and you don't know. Right?
I'm in audition mode.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't say anything.
And I now have an agent in Atlanta,
right,
who covers me for New York and Atlanta because unfortunately there's just not enough theatrical work here.
We're going to get some next year, though. So,
Well, then, thank you.
That's because of our incentives, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some things coming up. So be on the lookout for, I'll try to see if there's any roles I think that might be good for you. So kind of to sort of sum this up, any advice that you can give aspiring creatives, filmmakers, actors, or those who want to go into improv, anything that any wisdom that you can impart?
I think it's great to know all different sides of the industry of what we do. If you're a director, take an acting class. There's a great one in Miami, the Meisner class that I'm in that I love. If you are a actor, take an improv class. It'll make you better. Pay attention to what everybody else does. Yeah. And on set, actors, we have a problem with, we can't have a problem with thinking that it's all about us. But this business does not happen without every single person.
Yep. It's all like a wheel. It's all part of the spokes on the wheel, mm-hmm. Right? That's right. You can't have a script without actors. You can't have camera without the people behind the camera mm-hmm. running those cameras. All of those things. Nothing happens without the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grip, the PAs, the lighting, sound. Pay attention on set to everybody, and have such gratitude for what everyone is doing. They're doing their art. And a lot of times, I know from when I was a stagehand, they're the first ones there and they're the last ones to leave. Yeah. And we can't do any of this without each other. And if, as the industry leaves, we lose not just actors, but camera people, qualified grips, everything disperses. Right. And so it's hard to have a production when they do come in because we won't have enough great people. So we have to keep them by keeping work here.
And that's what we're trying to do, obviously, here in this office. But I thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us. I think this is going to be a favorite for viewers, and I appreciate your time and our friendship as well.
Same. Bye, everybody.